Before we dive into our main subject for today, a couple of things that I wanted to mention to you so that you would be aware. A recent report is saying that the Likud party, which is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's party in Israel, if elections were held today, they would win 39 seats. I don't recall exactly how many seats they have now. I think it's in the low 20s. And so this would be a huge power gain for the Likud party. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu is very much aware of this, of course, and he recently held a primary in his Likud party to reaffirm his leadership of the party and also his candidacy for the next round in prime ministership. In the meantime, other conservative parties that would be in coalition with him would win strong as well. I think they calculated he would end up with something like 79 seats in his coalition. Well, it takes 60 plus 1 to form a majority in the Israeli Knesset. 79 is considered a very strong majority, one that would enable him to carry out his platform with a lot of ease, actually. So I just thought it was very interesting to find out how strong Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu is actually being considered right now and concerning the leadership that he is exercising in the nation of Israel. Now, this is quite important, seeing that Netanyahu is dealing with Iran and is dealing with the crisis. Many people think that Israel is contemplating an attack on Iran in order to ensure that Iran does not, in fact, develop nuclear weapons. Nobody knows what the reports are, the Secret Service reports that are coming to Mr. Netanyahu, and also no one knows what the Secret Service of the United States is telling Barack Obama. We do not have access to their private talks. Of course, no one should have access to those, but there have been many talks behind closed doors between Benjamin Netanyahu and President Obama concerning Iran and what will happen there. Now, there's a lot of mixed feelings because not everyone trusts Mr. Obama. Some people think he has pro-Arab leanings, especially since he has a Muslim background. He attended a Muslim school as a child, and so some people accuse him of being a Muslim. I don't know whether he is or whether he is not. He claims to be a Christian of some caliber. We don't know that for sure exactly where he stands on that either. He doesn't go to church much. Nevertheless, there's a lot of things up in the air that's causing all kinds of uncertainty, but many people do believe that Israel is going to have to end up going on his own against the nation of Iran and to stop it from becoming a nuclear power. Now, Israel, because the leader of Iran, Mr. Ahmadinejad, has said repeatedly that Iran should be wiped off the map, then that Israel should be wiped off the map. Israel's very fearful of what could happen, and therefore Israel's already made up its mind, has already announced to the world, we will not allow Iran to become a nuclear power. We will go to war over the issue first. However, a lot of the leaders of Israel, of the United States, are saying that for Israel to attack Iran could produce unintended consequences, and that perhaps they could set the program back a year or two, but they don't believe they could permanently stop Iran from being a nuclear power. Now, Israel did permanently stop Iran from being a nuclear power, Iraq from being a nuclear power with its attack back in 1981 on the nuclear facility of Iraq at that time under Mr. Saddam Hussein. Whether that would work that cleanly with Iran, it appears that Iran's program is much further advanced and much more diversified. There are reports that there are some of their facilities that they have actually placed under ground inside of mountains to make them impervious to any attack. However, again, we simply do not know. That goes back to the Israeli Mossad, to the Secret Service. What do they really know? Well, no one knows that for sure. Reports are coming in that supposedly the United States has gotten Ehud Barak, the defense minister of Israel, to admit that Iran does not right now have a nuclear weapon. So there's a lot of pros and cons taking place. But the latest development is this, and that is that a letter has been sent from Iran to Kathy Ashton, who is the foreign minister of the European Union, offering to resume talks, and the efforts are supposedly going forward. Now, Israel's quite distressed by this because talks have been ongoing for what? 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, something like that. I think actually since 2003, perhaps. So consequently, Israel has no confidence in these talks, and frankly, I don't either, because it seems like all they do is talk, talk, talk. In the meantime, they build, they refine, they enrich uranium. It seems like that's the way it has gone up to this particular point. Well, this looks like just another stalling tactic, just when President Obama was really levying strong sanctions against Iran, and it seems they're starting to bite. Now, all of a sudden, apparently there's been a new approach, secret talks about back channels. According to the articles, there have been back channels between the United States and Iran to resume talks and to somehow solve this problem without firing a shot. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it. It would be better for all of us if there were not a war in Iran. We do not know where it would go. And so I am by no means a warmonger. I despise war. Innocent people die in war. War is of Satan. It is terrible. At the same time, Israel considers the possession of a nuclear weapon by Iran as an existential threat because Israel is a one-bomb nation. I mean, we're talking about a nation whose population center is pretty much contained in about 100 miles long and about 50 miles wide at the most. One nuclear bomb in the middle of that pretty much exterminates the modern nation of Israel. When you have an enemy just within missile distance away that is claiming that you should be wiped off of the map, and then has put its money where its mouth is by funding Hezbollah just north of you, Hamas just south of you, well, it doesn't inspire much confidence. It actually makes a person quite defensive. Now, I know people say, well, Israel's done this or that, but the truth of the matter is, no one from Israel has said that Iran is going to be wiped off the map and Iran is going to cease to exist. It has not happened. You can say whatever you want to say. The real fact is, I have heard the videos where Mr. Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, has called for wiping Israel off the map, calls the United States the great Satan, calls Israel the little Satan. And so these threats are very real. We're not talking about some crackpot here. We're talking about the president of Iran has been doing these things. Now then, President Obama is saying Iran, we believe, is a responsible player. We believe there's someone we can deal with, someone that we can talk to. I don't know what to say. All I can tell you today is that it is boiling again. And supposedly, President Obama sent one of his top delegations to Israel over the last 2 or 3 days to try to convince Israel to calm down. Right now, President Obama is saying that we should try these talks until July. And it looks like probably that's where it's going, because it's really tough for Israel to go directly against its number one supporter, the United States of America. No matter who you are or how independent you are, you better know what you're doing when you decide to directly go against the United States of America when the U.S. is your very best friend on this earth, especially when you're a nation as small as the nation of Israel. So that's what's going on today. Those are some of the tensions that are building, so it's very interesting to realize what is in fact going on right now. One more thing I want to go, and we're going to be taking your phone calls in the second segment of the program. However, I wanted to mention this to you because I thought this was such an interesting article that appeared. This article appeared in the Jerusalem Post on the 17th. so about 3 days or so ago. Study offers solutions for Jerusalem holy site. And this organization is actually proposing the sharing of the Temple Mount. It's almost like they're going straight from the prophecies of the Bible, that they believe that the Temple Mount could be put under international administration, that both Jews and Muslims could worship there. Well, that's exactly what the Bible says is going to happen, but it's shocking when you read it in the Bible written 2,000 years ago, and then you read it in the Jerusalem Post written 3 days ago, when you see the two things coming together. Let me read a little bit for you. Israel and the Palestinians should allow the international community to supervise Jerusalem's Temple Mount and the city's other holy sites. A study carried out by a liberal Jerusalem think tank and released Tuesday said the strong connection of members of all monotheistic religions to the city on the one hand, and the lack of trust between Israel and the Palestinian Authority on the other, justifies some international intervention in overseeing the area, especially from the security standpoint and with regard to preserving the holy sites. Now, this is so interesting because the Bible specifically says that the Temple Mount will be under a sharing arrangement soon, and that the international community will be the overseer. And it specifically states that the international leader of the world, according to Bible prophecy, the man is called the Antichrist, that he will actually end up standing on the Temple Mount, claiming ultimate jurisdiction there. So we can see that what they're proposing here is exactly what the Bible prophesied would come to pass 2,000 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, what does this mean to you and me? This simply means that we are right now approaching the time we call the end time. And we got to be careful to make sure we understand what the end time means. End time means not the end of all time, because there's another 1,000 years left of human existence upon this earth. When we say the end time, we mean the end of the time of human government and the beginning of the time of the kingdom of God. Now, the Bible teaches that 7 years before Armageddon, the Temple Mount will be placed under the sharing arrangement, opening the door for the building of Israel's third temple beside the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So you're going to see a Jewish temple, and you're going to see the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque staying there with the international community, probably the United Nations or some other international entity, overseeing the peace, supervising the peace. That's what's coming. And here it is in the news today. We can't be very far away. A year, 2 years, 3 years, we'll see.